Bookkeeping, taxes, business bank accounts, all this stuff sounds super scary if you're just starting out as a YouTuber or creator, but I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be. Let's break these down one by one, starting with bank accounts and finances, then bookkeeping, then taxes, since these all kind of build on top of each other. Because really, I want you to get all of this set up and then not really ever have to think about it again, except for the once a year when you do your taxes. So first things first, I think it's really helpful to have a separate bank account for your business. You don't have to have an LLC or any legal entity set up to do this. You can just open a separate account with the bank you already have. Having a separate bank account is nice because you can have all of your business-related expenses go through it, and have all of your business income be deposited there as well. Most expenses that are done for your business can be written off, meaning that you don't have to pay income taxes on that money, or at least not all of it. Some large purchases may have to be written off over the course of several years, but don't worry. I'll make sure you don't have to worry about that when we get to the taxes section. There are banks that are more geared towards entrepreneurs and self-employed people, so if you don't mind working with a separate company, I recommend considering that. I use and recommend one called Found. It's free to sign up, and in addition to auto-categorizing business expenses, there's a number of other neat features I like. For example, you can automatically create sub-accounts and have money split up between them. I have a percentage of my income automatically allocated towards different things like vacations, reinvestments back into the business, specific business projects I'm saving for, and of course, take-home profit. It also supports the creation of virtual cards, and you can add notes to transactions, export transactions easily to spreadsheets, and a whole host of other little quality of life features that are great for creators like you and I. Speaking of cards, I recommend getting a separate credit card as well, that you only use for business purposes. Generally speaking, unless your business requires a lot of travel, your best bet is to go with something that has unlimited cashback across all purchases. Cards like the Citi Double Cash Card or the Capital One Spark Card give a solid 2%. I know other cards give up to 5% cash back on specific categories, but a lot of these, like groceries or restaurants for example, aren't usually things that you'll be buying for your business all that often. Next up, let's talk bookkeeping. Technically, you could save all your receipts, credit card and bank statements, and any other records of your income and expenses, then throw this on someone on the end of the year to, kind of organize and put it together. But this is the stressful and again, disorganized way to handle it. Not to mention, you go the whole year without really having a good picture of your finances. I recommend having your bookkeeping taken care of as quickly as possible, so you can really keep an eye on how the money is flowing. At a bare minimum, you should be updating your books once a month. There are 2 ways I recommend doing this. If you're just starting out and you really don't have that complicated of a business, not a whole lot of expenses, not a whole lot of income sources, you really could just use a spreadsheet. This should include the date, the transaction information such as who the transaction was to and the amounts, the income source for the income, the category for your expenses, and any other notes you'll want to add. It can be really helpful, especially if the thing on the transaction doesn't really say what it is, to note down what the purchase was actually for. That way, at the end of the year or whenever you want to go look over it, you can remember what that money was actually spent on. When it comes to categorizing expenses, some example categories include things like rents, utilities, office supplies, independent contractor expenses, cost of goods sold, marketing and advertising, tools and software, education and training, employee salaries, equipment expenses, insurance, and so on. Again, these are just a few, but having everything categorized will make your accountant's job far easier and cheaper come tax time. You can keep this spreadsheet super simple and make it yourself, or if you want a really fancy one, you can buy one off Etsy for a few bucks. Just search bookkeeping template or bookkeeping spreadsheet, and you should find a lot of options. If you are already doing pretty well and you don't want to worry about bookkeeping at all, I've used a service called Bench in the past, which I'll link to in the description. They're about $250 a month. You just connect your accounts to their platform, and they do all the bookkeeping for you. Before tax time, they'll give you a spreadsheet that you can just hand over to your accountant. They're also there to answer any questions you have about bookkeeping, and it's a pretty decent service for the price. Though I have to be honest, when I did use it, they were kind of behind for quite a while, so you have to stay on top of them. If you do e-commerce or you have a high volume of transactions, it's totally worth it at that point because it saves you so much time. When I was running my own e-commerce business, we were shipping out thousands of products per day at one point, so doing that much bookkeeping was definitely not something I was interested in. For a simple YouTube channel, the $250 a month expense might not be worth it. Let's finally move on to accounting and taxes. This is the big one that everyone's afraid of. If you've only ever worked a traditional job where you received a W-2 and got paid as an employee rather than an independent contractor, this is going to be a little bit different. You have to pay self-employment tax, and the taxes are not automatically taken out. This means you will always owe money on the income you make. You will not be receiving a tax refund. Of course, you only received a tax refund because you overpaid in the first place, but still, expect to have to pay money. This is actually another reason why I like Found's banking service so much. It automatically takes a percentage of the income and sets it aside for taxes. That's an optional setting, but it's one I use, and it's prevented me from overspending early on when I still had to worry about that sort of thing. Anyway, if you don't like dealing with lengthy meetings with accountants, I recommend a service called TaxFile. That's TaxFyle. To use TaxFile, all you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire about your income, and you'll get paired with an accountant online. They'll have you send over your books and any other tax documents through their online portal, probably answer a few questions, and in a week or less, you'll have your tax return ready to be filed. They do everything for you, and the entire process really only takes about an hour a year. Even if you have multiple income sources, you run your own business, you have investment income, and so on. Honestly, it's so much less of a headache than trying to find someone locally, in my opinion, though I may be a bit biased because honestly, I live in the middle of frickin' nowhere. Tax time is a lot more fun when you're seeing big numbers on all your paperwork. I used to complain about taxes, but paying a ton of them shows that, hey, I made pretty good money last year. If you want to learn the exact strategy I recommend new creators use to hit $30K a month as quickly as possible, which is the number I found really lets you do anything you want without having to think about money anymore, then sign up to my free workshop at jamesmcallisteronline.com/workshop. Anything under 30K, it'll show you how to get there. Otherwise, check out these videos. All links will be in the description, and I hope to see you again soon.